Good evening, River West, Milwaukee, and possibly the globe. Welcome to Compose Yourself with Julie Brandenburg. This is a talk show about local music as well as a radio workshop for songwriters and composers. We are broadcasting from the River West Film and Video headquarters on Center Street in the heart of beautiful downtown River West. My name is Julie Brandenburg. I'm the producer of Compose Yourself, this show. The things you will hear over the next 2 hours represents the views of me, Julie Brandenburg, and the people in my panel, who I will introduce momentarily. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. Each week, I will have a panel of songwriters, composers, students, and listeners here to share songs and discuss the craft of songwriting and composing. With me today in the studio is Jacob Mushin, bass player for the Freddie Lee Band, Spencer Powers, who is the drummer for Shroud of Despondency, and Emily Zimmer, guitarist for the Freddie Lee Band. Joining us today is filmmaker Jamie Sod, who will discuss his film about local music shortly in the show. But first, let's get started by listening to some music, as we always do. So, guys, finally, after 3 months, I went and did it. I got the new Meshuggah album. Why did anyone not make sure I got it sooner? It's so good. I love it. I love it. I should have got it sooner.
There were people who told you to get it sooner.
Okay. He's right, there were.
I don't know, Julie. From my circle of friends, I've only ever heard not very good things about Meshuggah, so
This newest album was actually pretty impressive. I have to agree with Julie. I just listened to it for the first time a few days ago and again today, and it's pretty well done. It's very...
Well, Jacob, you know I like the heavy stuff. Is there anything that would really appeal to me, or...?
Yeah, it was very heavy. I mean, it was way more traditional metal sounding, but it was a little bit more progressive than straight up math metal like they were in the earlier days.
I would say I appreciate the technical skill, but
and
some of their stuff is a little amelodic for my taste.
You'd really like the drumming on it, Spencer. That guy can really, really do some stuff with his feet. It's pretty impressive.
Nice. Yeah, if it grips, it rips, man. I'd probably be a fan then. I'll check it out.
Check it out. You know, their previous album, Obsidian, was really, really, really good, and I saw them at the Rave for their tour for that album, and I was blown away by that. I actually think I like this newest one even better. So, have you heard it, Emily?
I know absolutely nothing about Meshuggah, and I've never heard anything by them in my life.
Oh my goodness gracious. We will just have to get you to listen to it. Well,
but not here.
Not here, because here we play only original music, and that's a wonderful thing. So instead of playing that, we're going to play one of our favorite Milwaukee heavy bands, Face of Ruin. So we're going to listen to a track called In the Depths.
your phone. You're dead. I'm dead. What? Is there my back? I'm dead. What are you then? What are you doing here? What is that? There is no other here. You've been killed. Don't you remember? Remember?
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com, and we just listened to a track from Face of Ruin called In the Depths. If you want to check out their music, they are on Reverb Nation, I believe Bandcamp as well, and their album is for sale. They have two recordings that are available. This one is off their newer recording. I love it.
That was very spastic.
I feel like I just ran a marathon.
Yeah, so did the drummer after that take was over.
Yeah, Chris Bissell is the most talented drummer I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and as well as John Licke is the most talented guitarist I've ever met, and they are both in this amazing band.
Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, that was, it's interesting hearing music like that because it sounds like death metal with the growling and all, but it's really progressive. I mean, the song started off in 4, and then it went to 7 for a while, and then it was switching between 7 and 6 for a while, and then, I mean, just complete, it was really hard to follow. There was a lot of time signature changing, and it was actually, it was pretty dissonant overall. I mean, they were playing really interesting intervals for harmonies.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about them is they don't seem to be afraid to do things that are outside the box of what they're supposed to be doing. They break the rules. They have beautiful melodic guitar lines. What? That's not supposed to happen in this kind of music, but they do it.
Yeah, I know the main songwriter, Shane, he is the other guitarist besides John Lidke. He is very methodical about his way of writing. He has a definite view of what he wants, and then he maps the entire thing out on I forget which computer program. But basically every single member of the band, rhythm section included, is presented with a primarily finished part before they know the song, and then they, have something to work on before the first rehearsal and helps things move along a little bit, but that is just very hard to have that full picture in mind ahead of time and map it out for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I find it interesting, just the fan base of that kind of music. They're so loyal, and you wouldn't think there'd be even that big of an audience for that type of kind of outside music. But I was briefly in a kind of a heavier metal band, and it's just like a family and a big community. Everybody knows each other, and it's kind of a cool scene.
Yeah, like the whole Borg Ward scene for a while there, people were showing up. I liked that scene. I don't know why I haven't felt like I've seen a show going on there for a while. But what I liked about that scene is it was not a music club. There were no pool tables, as Peter just pointed out in the film we'll talk about later. It's no booze, no nothing. It's just music. You walk in there, you look at some art, and you listen to some music. And it was really neat the way people were very focused about that. Does anybody know if the Borg Ward is doing any?
They're still doing shows, yeah. I just saw John Lidke do a experimental noise project with his two synthesizers and his theremin, and he was the opening act for a whole slew of metal bands playing a metal show there last Friday.
Oh, why did we go to that?
yeah, I missed it as well.
Did we have? I think we were out of town, weren't we, in Door County?
Yeah, well, we were in
That would explain why.
There you go.
Because something like that would have made it on my calendar, but I think the Freddie Lee band, which 3 of us are in, was out of town at that point. But yeah, I love the melodic shape of some of those guitar lines, and he doesn't do the formulaic. Okay, we'll have one guy play it. Okay, now both of them will play it in thirds. I mean, he really mixes it up. So I really like that compositionally. And right in the middle, he throws something completely different into the situation with those electronics.
Yeah, it's the whole band, like, it's just a bunch of guys who have been so dedicated to metal for so many years. It's really the culmination of some of Milwaukee's best talent throwing down their chops for everyone to observe, and I think that's really awesome of them.
Yep. So, any other comments? Well, I think it's time for us to move on to our next segment, known as Shameless, Self, Promotion. Oh, that was sweet, Spencer. He has really been working on this, I'm telling you. I think his tone and just the whole, approach, articulation.
I'll practice till I can't even spit.
Expert technique.
So I'm going to play something of mine today because I want to unveil, and I'm very excited about this. I'm finally getting this band together that I've been wanting to get together for a while, and we have decided upon a name, and that name is Enchased. What do you think? Enchased. It is an adjective that means decorated or ornamented by inlaying or engraving, especially with gems. A synonym would be bejeweled, hence the slight suggestion of the reference to Julie B. What do you think? Emily, what do you think?
Pretty clever.
Yeah?
Pretty deep. I always like names or anything that has a true reference to it. I always find that holds a lot more water than just pulling something out of thin air.
Yeah.
Pulling a name out of thin air.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I concur.
Yay. All right, that's 3 votes for yes. Jacob?
I'm in the band, so of course I like it.
I found it just because I was just searching for interesting looking words. And when I read the meaning, I thought, well, that just is kind of cool. I mean, to encrust something with gems or to engrave it and beautify it, that kind of is what we're trying to sort of do when we make art of all kinds, including music. So, and then I thought that, wait, bejeweled. Aha. So, that's the name we're going to go with, and I am excited to unveil the members who are finally solidified. It will be Jacob playing the bass, and it will be Paul Newland, who is on this recording as the drummer, we've talked about him before. He's very, very solid. He also plays with the Heroes Lie. He will be playing drums. And we have Angie Schmidt, who is the electric cellist in Far Corner, her husband's band, but she is happy to continue to play with me. She's also on this recording. And then we have Steve White, who plays with the Freddie Lee Band, and very thrilled once again that he has said he does, in fact, have the time. I know he's a very busy man, but I'm thrilled. So, and then, on top of all that, we have electric violin. We've got Klavs Mednes, who's going to be playing electric violin. So I am totally excited. We're going to start rehearsals later this month. So that's why I chose to be self-indulgent and play for you the feeder. And while I'm getting that set up, because I just pushed the wrong button, I would mention that this is the short version of this song without the big, long electronic introduction. But you can hear the long version on my SoundCloud page, where some of the programs from our previous Compose Yourself installments are also housed. But after today, I will only keep one episode up at a time, because beginning today, Compose Yourself is going to be podcast pretty much live. So you can listen to this show on Thursdays as well as Wednesdays. Thursdays in the afternoon it will be rebroadcast, I believe, at noon. And then the podcast will be available very quickly on the riverwestradio.com website. So this is all exciting news. Here is the feeder.
Feeder
to kill me. It is the buzzing creatures, every note I write. The Feeder on riverwestradio.com by a new band called Enchased. So be looking for that band. And we have listened to this song before, so we don't have to say too much, but you guys like it?
Very ominous.
Very much so.
I like the rock edge to it. Is that normally the style that you
Yeah.
you do?
This
That's
is-
cool. It almost had like a progressive.
Yeah, that's what it really sounds like. Most of the songs are pretty progressive rock.
I would even say like a. I hate to name drop, but Tool a little bit. That the verses.
Well, that's a pretty good name drop when you're talking about progressive music.
Yeah.
I am not offended.
and I feel like when it came out of the chorus, it sounded a little Black Sabbath-esque to me.
Ha!
There's a lot of different things going on there, like that when the riff turns around and the guitar gets really low and like do 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 do, and totally sounds like the beginning of like a Black Sabbath riff, like.
Well, it is really heavy. I mean, it does have kind of a metal sound to it,
Yeah.
but
Awesome.
not the same kind of metal as like the Face of Ruin, and that's progressive in its own right.
Was it like I don't have the best ear for this sort of thing, was that sort of like some minor tonality going on?
Definitely.
Okay, because I know that
Definitely.
has more of a darker, borderline evil sound to it and stuff like that.
A lot of it is that there's a few different time signatures too, so it just kind of throws you off every so often. It does the same riff like 5 or 6 times in a row, and then all of a sudden it does that, and then an extra 3 beats or something, and then it switches into a different part. So
Yeah.
Where was that recorded, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind you asking. The drums were recorded at my friend Shane's studio, and that studio is called Bobby Peru Recording. He's an awesome dude and has an awesome setup. And then I took those tracks home and recorded the rest of the tracks in my home recording studio. And I used Pro Tools for this project. I had always been a digital performer person. So there was much swearing and tearing of hair that took place when trying to learn to use Pro Tools, but I think I have it now. And that's kind of how I plan to continue to work. Shane is a really great engineer, and I really enjoy working with him. He also gave me some engineering lessons. I also took some lessons from him. Very good teacher if you're looking for that sort of thing.
I'm actually trying to build my own home recording setup right now. I've kind of got most of the basics. I've been using a PreSonus interface, I guess, and that comes with some free software called Studio One, so I've just been trying to get used to that.
I see. Yeah, you were talking before about how Shane from Face of Ruin, different Shane, how he works. I actually do the same thing. I pretty much score out everything. The only thing I don't score out is the drums. And I usually kind of just tell the drummer, I'm looking for you to follow this pocket, or I'm looking for you to, I want toms here, I want something heavy here, and I just kind of describe, but I don't play drums. So of all the instruments, I feel the least literate about the drums.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a lot of room open for artistic interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually I work with someone like Paulie, who was on this recording. Now, his brother Chris is the guitar player on this recording. Chris is a fantastic jazz artist and also plays with the Heroes Lie, and wanted very much to continue with this project, but he is in school full time. So that is a big factor here for him. So thank you for listening to that. Any other thoughts? No? So we should move on to our quiz questions for the week. All right. Here is our quiz for our panel for the week. So last week, we're going to start going back now to just going back 1 week, since we're going to be rebroadcasting and podcasting immediately. There's no need to delay 2 weeks, so we're going to right away talk about last week's question. Here is the question. A love supreme is a prayer inspired by one man's dedication to his faith after overcoming addiction. Who was this saxophonist? Jacob, you want to answer?
I was just listening to "I Love Supreme" the other day. It was the brilliant John Coltrane.
Yes, that is correct, Jamie. Our guest is 1 for 1. Yay! Woo! What's really neat about that piece, I'm sure you've noticed when you were listening to the line, and once again, we can't play anything that isn't original on the show, but we can kind of talk about it a little bit. You know, the line that bum 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 bum. It's actually, the rhythm of that is based on "A Love Supreme, A Love Supreme." I just think that's just so cool.
That sounds like part of the off-Broadway like riff or maybe bass line or whatever, and it's like
Oh yeah.
I'll see more something else.
Yeah. On Broadway.
That's what. That's what struck me right when you started humming that.
Was I
don't
singing
know.
it
I don't know. Love
correctly,
Supreme.
Jacob?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
I've never heard this Coltrane tune, so I don't know.
Well, I recommend to our listeners that you definitely get on iTunes and download it now, and it's awesome. It is a monumental work. How long is it? Do you remember, Jamie?
Just that one song.
Yes.
I believe it was 8 or 9 minutes. I'm not quite sure.
I think I've heard versions that were even like into the almost 20-minute range.
Oh yeah, I just have like a special edition, so it has some really long songs on there, definitely.
Cool. It's a great piece of music, so let's move on with our quiz. So here are 2 new quiz questions for our panel today. Now, last week we did all jazz stuff, much to the dismay of my friend Lori, who is not a big fan of the style, but she soldiered on through it. Today's quiz questions are all classical music. So,
This is the Stump Jacob week.
because otherwise he always gets the right answer. So, yes, this is Stump Jacob week. So, what musical event caused a riot when it premiered in Paris in May of 1913? Was it A, a song with bawdy lyrics at a salon in Paris? B, a symphony of atonal music? C, an opera that was badly sung? Or D, a scandalous ballet performance? Emily, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, Paris is pretty bawdy and scandalous. So I'm gonna go with B, a symphony of atonal music.
All right. And this is an educated guess because she has actually been to Paris. Emily has actually been there. That's so cool. Was it scandalous? Was it scandalous?
Sure.
I have no idea, so I'm just gonna, for the sake of being different, say C, an opera that was badly sung.
All right. Spencer?
I actually feel like I can recall this question from the music appreciation class I had a full year ago. I believe it is D, a scandalous performance or ballet performance, because, and I want to say I know the composer, but it escapes me. Tip of
All
the
right.
tongue, but I think it is that.
All right. Jacob?
Well, no point in starting being a conformist now. I'm going to go with A because they guessed all the other ones already.
So you say that it's a song with bawdy lyrics. All right. Well, yes, Paris is bawdy, so it would probably be more acceptable for bawdy lyrics to be sung in a salon rather than perhaps a concert hall, so it's not A. B, a symphony of atonal music. Now, at that time, Schoenberg was beginning to present his 12-tone music, and that was rather the intellectual, scholarly set was okay with that, but regular people are like, what? This doesn't sound good. Why are we listening to this? And I could probably go on for about 20 minutes about why you might want to listen to it. Just suffice to say that it's interesting in its own right for how it's constructed, and if you try really hard, you can actually hear the patterns in it. It's challenging to deal with. It's not something I'd put on at a party. C, an opera that was badly sung. I can imagine that would be unacceptable in a cosmopolitan cultural city like Paris, but that's not in fact what happened, because you are right. Spencer is correct. D, a scandalous ballet performance called The Rite of Spring. Does that kind of jar your memory?
Is that Vivaldi?
No, that's the Four Seasons, which was in the Baroque era. So that was kind of a long time ago, but good guess. Give you a hint. His first name is Igor.
Stravinsky.
Yes.
I thought.
Good job, man.
The name Tchaikovsky came into mind when I was looking at this. I thought it might have been a Russian.
Yes.
Ruskies.
Those Rusk. Here's why it was a scandal. You're thinking, ballet? Scandal? What? This is, girls in tutus on their toes. How could that be a horrible thing?
Exactly.
But what it actually was, there were a couple elements of it that was scandalous. First of all, Stravinsky began writing in a style that was new. He was very rhythmic oriented, so a lot of people who like heavy music, like myself, really like Stravinsky because it's all bum, 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 bum. And he would put accents in funny places. That was like his big deal. It's like everybody's going at the same time, bum, 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 bum. That's not where you expect the accent to be. And the accents in a lot of this repetitious music was what gave it its shape. And it was a new way of looking at music. It was a completely new way. So that was very jarring to the audience. And then the costumes were really odd because the theme of it was these pagan Russian, these Russian pagans doing these pagan rituals, and that was just considered just horrifying and scandalous. And the method, the means of dancing, I should say the mode of dancing, was considered vulgar. Not necessarily sexually vulgar, but just not pretty motions. You go to a ballet to see pretty girls on their pretty, tutus and their pretty little toes, and that is not what was happening. So by the middle of the performance, and the problem was there were some people who were open-minded and liked it. So the real part of the riot came in where people started audibly arguing about the ballet as it was going on. So as the ballet progressed, the audience's discomfort also progressed. Those in favor of the work began to argue with those in opposition, and they eventually turned into brawls, and the police were notified and hauled in. They arrived at intermission and successfully calmed the angry crowd. As the second half commenced, police were unable to keep the audience under control, and rioting resumed. Stravinsky was so taken aback by the audience's reaction, he fled the scene before the show was over. So, all this over a ballet. That's not what you would have expected. So,
That's great.
the other thing too was the dissonance. You were asking me before about what the Face of Ruin, what some of the harmonies were in there, and you asked if they were minor, and I said yes. And part of it too is Face of Ruin, and a lot of other bands that are trying to find a sound that's more jarring will use tones and notes that clash with each other on purpose and in a very purposeful way. So if you listen to some of the harmonies in those chords, they're adding on to those chords notes that are very dissonant to the root often. And so it gives you a more like kind of feel to it.
In the case of Face of Ruin and the song of hers she played, it is primarily minor, but there's a lot of chromaticism in it, so then you can end up playing a note that's major, a note that's minor, or even something that doesn't fit into either.
So what is chromaticism for the audience?
Chromaticism is playing a series of notes with in a row, but just a half step apart.
Ah, so bum 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 ba da 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 da. Those are half steps, and when they're played next to each other, and when there's lots of them played next to each other, it gives a very jarring, kind of disconcerting sound.
The best example I can think of that is when Jason Becker, the once amazing, brilliant shred virtuoso guitarist, used to play Paganini's Fifth Caprice on guitar, and it's like 2 minutes of the most intense, shredded out chromaticism you've ever heard in your life.
Wow.
I recommend anyone who likes shred guitar check out Jason Becker rips on YouTube, and it'll be Paganini's Fifth Caprice.
Cool.
Or there was some Paul Gilbert did a few videos of classical music where he took something that was not written for guitar and then played it on guitar, and there's a lot of classical chromaticism in there too.
Yeah, he plays a lot of Bach tunes. One of my favorite classical shredders.
And Haydn, he played one of my favorite Haydn pieces on the guitar. It was pretty cool.
I think you played that one for me. Yeah, that was neat.
Also, the foundation for any heavy music, in my opinion, is the what was known as the Diabolus in Musica, the interval of the devil, the flat five, which is, of course, the fundamental heavy metal note.
Absolutely, yes. We have praised the glory of the tritone in this panel discussion before. It is the bread and butter note or interval, I should say, of anyone trying to invoke evil.
Well, but just keep to tritones and not quarter tones.
Right. Quarter tones are the notes in between notes. So, let us continue. Which one? I've got to put on my serious professor voice. Now, I'm looking over my glasses intently at the four of them. Which one of these operas was written by Beethoven? A. Fidelio. B. Madame Butterfly. C. The Marriage of Figaro. And D. Turandot. Jacob?
Again, I am completely clueless, as I am.
He's got the clueless face on too, folks.
And I've got the triumphant face on.
And C is for clueless, so I'm going to go with The Marriage of Figaro for this one.
I would have to agree, even though I also have no idea. It just sounds right.
Can I throw my answer in?
Sure.
I would actually like to tell these fellas The Marriage of Figaro is probably one of Mozart's most famous pieces.
Yeah, that's why I heard it
Tell
before.
us
You
the
would
answer
totally
again,
know.
Spencer.
Well, he said that wasn't the answer.
See, I
Yeah.
heard that in Amadeus, so it got stuck in my brain.
There you go.
Emily, what do you think?
I really don't know either. I'm gonna go with Madame Butterfly.
Okay.
It's not C. I also feel the urge to go with Madame Butterfly because I feel like that I am familiar with that term.
No take
I don't know who
backs.
Fidelio is or what Fidelio was or what Turandot was.
These all are operas, so they're not made up names, just so you know.
I want to say Turandot sounds more like not French, maybe Spanish to me, and Beethoven was Austrian, so I will go with Madame Butterfly as well.
All right. So I got you guys on this one. And part of the reason this was actually a mean question is because Beethoven was absolutely not known for writing operas. He only wrote one, and that one was Fidelio. And he hated it. He said, I should be, made a statue as a martyr for writing this opera because he just did not like writing opera and never wrote one again.
And he does have a statue somewhere, doesn't he?
I think he does. Probably in Bonn, Germany, where he was born. So that was the correct answer. B, Madame Butterfly, and D, Turandot were both written by, do you know? Puccini.
Huh.
Very good. And both of those operas had a very international flair. The late Romantic opera composers were really into the exotic lands and exotic women and juicy stories. I'm talking about opera with my music appreciation students, and I'm like, people, I'm telling you, this stuff could have been on Springer. It's not boring. It's really juicy. It's very interesting.
Mistresses upon mistresses and all that good stuff.
Oh, Lucia! I'll watch an opera and I'll think, "Oh, Lucia, don't go in the garden. Your husband's in there with the maid."
Yeah. We watched the Marriage of Figaro in my music appreciation class, and it really gets pretty buck wild.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a scene in the Marriage of Figaro that is so similar to a modern opera called "Trapped in the Closet" by the famed R. Kelly.
Wow.
I don't think you can call that an opera exactly.
I suppose. I don't know. It was set to music, Jacob. Come on. It was the best. No, I can't even BS that. I mean, anyways.
It was just an amazing allegory for AIDS. Was just the whole thing. That was all he was doing.
Ah.
You mean the package?
I was
That's
not
right.
aware of that.
There was a midget under the counter.
Yeah.
And then moving right along.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I that's R. Kelly, right? How do we? Yeah,
Yes.
I love the way we can go from Puccini to R. Kelly without stopping for gas or anything.
It's music, folks.
That's right. And you are correct, Spencer. The Marriage of Figaro, in fact, is an opera that was a classical era opera written by Mozart. That's the one actually where the maid is in the garden. Well, here's what happened. It's very juicy. The king takes a shine for the maid, who is the handmaiden of the queen, and that often was the relationship between a strong character and her handmaiden was often a big theme. And anyway, so the maid isn't happy about this because she's about to get married to Figaro, and tells the queen, hey, look, I'm just going to lay the cards on the table. Your husband's kind of running after me, and I don't like it, and I think it's wrong, and I think we should do something about it. So the wife puts on the maid's clothes. It goes into the garden and hides where they're supposed to meet. She's like, oh, yes, I'm the maid. It's me. I'm back here, and I'm hiding. Well, and of course, then the husband, he reveals himself to be up to no good. And when she comes out, surprise, it's me. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And suddenly has this, huge change of heart and realizes how much he loves her. And they all sing and everyone's happy. So
That's kind of a inverse King David story.
is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it actually has a happy ending.
Yes, it actually has a happy ending. And then they all drink and dance at Figaro and the maid's wedding. So
Nobody got executed or
I
anything.
think a few
Nobody
people
got
got into a little trouble though, right? The king's helper guy, something.
I forgot that part.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Something about he didn't tell on so and so he was protecting them, and how dare he?
Oh, yeah, that's right. There were a couple twists in there I forgot about.
So many twists. That's the thing about Marriage of Figaro. It's got more plot twists than a Family Guy episode. You know what I'm saying?
Except for there's no weird, non sequitur moments.
Yeah.
Well, now, Turandot begins with an execution. In fact, the Marriage of Figaro is one of the few operas where somebody doesn't die. I always joke in an opera, somebody's got to die.
Well,
It's usually the woman.
That's how it works in most plays, even that aren't musical. I mean,
True. But the Turandot starts off with an execution and ends up happy. Madame Butterfly starts off happy and ends up unhappy. So I'm not going to give it all away. You guys should. And you know what? I have a feeling if you went to River West Film and Video Store, they probably have some of these operas right here for people to rent. So that might be an interesting change of pace for some people. So here's our listener quiz for this week. Who were the three composers known as the members of the New Viennese School? The New Viennese School. So as we know, Vienna was the center it was the center of composers around Mozart's time. Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, all those guys. Salieri, for that matter. And
Salieri.
yep.
I gotta say, if Puccini wrote Turando, I think it would be pronounced more like Turando. That's just my opinion.
Good guess.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time in the show for our weekly guest interview. And this week, yes, and it would not be the guest. It would just not be as regal if we didn't have that music. So today's guest musician is filmmaker, and today's guest musician and filmmaker is Jamie Saad. So tell us a little bit about your background, Jamie.
All right. Well, first off, I would use filmmaker very loosely, just because I wouldn't even put myself there yet. Maybe someday. I'm aspiring to get that to that level. I moved to Milwaukee about 10 years ago, just to go to MATC's music program. I graduated in 2003. So first and foremost, I like to approach everything as a musician. So I'm currently going to Milwaukee Public Television at MATC and studying production there. And hopefully, it's all show business to me, and I'm trying to, intertwine everything together with probably forming my own production company someday is the ultimate goal. So I'm a musician. For this project, it was just for one of our assignments, we had to produce a 30-minute program. So it's not technically a film, but it's a 30-minute documentary I directed about the local music scene in Milwaukee, and just I interviewed local venues like the owner of Shank Hall and the Up and Under, and also a few local musicians, and just kind of got a feel of the mood and just how we're viewed in the region as a musical city.
So, what do you feel are some of the more valuable lessons you learned in researching and producing this film?
Sorry for the ums. I learned that Milwaukee is kind of a fractured scene as far as music, how it's very cliquey, and just I think due to the layout of the city itself, where we have a lake on one side, which kind of blocks off one whole side of the city, and then there's really not like a centralized region of the city to go see live music. I mean, downtown has a few really nice venues, but for the most part, if you're gonna go see a band, you're going to have to travel to Cudahy or even, West Dallas or Waukesha. And that kind of just keeps everything kind of compartmentalized.
Sure.
I'm currently living in Bayview, and that has a nice scene too, but there's not a whole lot of cross networking going on.
Right.
So, and another thing I think that musicians could do, stand to do more of is just that networking and getting to know different bands and musicians. It seems like a lot of bands have kind of a territorial or competitive vein. Our band is better than your band, but I think we should just have kind of a collective creative
Right.
attitude.
I have to admit, sometimes I'm that girl that's guilty of, well, what time do you go on? And I feel guilty when I ask that question. I try not to do that all the time because I do want to try to open up my mind to see something I don't know. It really is important. But I'll admit, sometimes if I'm tired, if I've had to work that day, if I have to get up the next morning, I sometimes will ask that horrible question, what time do you go on? Instead of just showing myself up at 9:30 and being prepared to just take some time to watch some music. When I've done that, I've been always really glad I did it, even if I didn't like everything. At least I learned something.
Well, I'd say every musician who plays, they want to be... The reason we're playing music is we want to be liked and respected for what we do. That's why we work at it. So when I play a show, I really want people to remember my band and the experience they had seeing my band, and to be remembered, you kind of have to be more memorable than everyone else you played with that day, so that they go back and instead of, I hope everyone enjoys any music going experience and stuff like that, but, there'll always be like that one band that sticks out the most that really, really rocked you, and
Yeah.
Well,
you really...
Any band can tell you that they're the best, but if you can show somebody that you're the best,
Oh yeah, this is all. People should totally be active listeners and really think about their decisions before they make them musically. Please, people, think about your music.
And he was saying, that people aren't showing up before the band they want to see, and that really is half of the battle, is getting people to give your music a chance, getting even heard. I mean, getting a good review that's another thing to talk about, but getting people to listen to your music is a huge battle, especially in live venues when you open up for bands that don't have that many people themselves. And it's really hard to start.
I tried doing this at the Miramar, and it unfortunately was a disaster. This is when I had a band called the Julie B. Well, and I had Face of Ruin play with us, and I had 3 or 4 other bands that I did not even know these people at all. And I did this on purpose. I said, let's do something nuts here. Let's get a folk band, a psychedelic band, a hard prog band, which was us, and a metal band. And I think there was even one soloist. And let's get these 5 different kinds of people into the club so that everybody can see what else there is. And I had this beautiful vision of peace and love and all of us holding hands and, doing the fist bumps at the end of the night. And it just didn't work because people just went and stood in front of their friend's band and then left. And I was disappointed. There was no peace and love that night.
Yeah, it's hard to achieve. I gotta say, most metal fans wouldn't take too quickly to the folk, and probably the other way around, but you'd have to find that real select fraction of each demographic that would be so open-minded to just really enjoy anything.
Or build the time machine and go back to the 60s.
Yeah, that too.
Every one of the bands that I asked, though, were really good. Although there was one band, and I don't remember, so I don't even have to pretend not to say. They just pulled out because I think they just maybe foresaw that it wasn't going to work. But everybody else was willing to at least give it a try, and I give them credit for that.
I think with technology today, it's easier to kind of separate yourself away from other types of music too. You know, you create your own kind of, this is my niche and this is what I like to listen to, but you're almost not, you're not confronted with different styles. Whereas if you're listening to a radio station, you'll get a little bit more of an eclectic mix.
That's interesting you say that because I've heard an analysis the other day from a commentator that the internet is kind of doing that to people. On the one hand, on the internet, you can find people all over the world who like doing your unique thing. Like if you like crocheting beer cozies and that's your thing, and you can find other people who like crocheting beer cozies.
And please send me one.
I can make you one.
Email True Jewels and tell me where you are.
But the flip side of that is you never learn how to crochet a scarf because you're just crocheting beer cozies and that's all you talk about.
Julia, I think it's been a problem for some time that when bands play, they feel... I feel like Jamie's noticed these clicks because so many bands just stick so closely to one single genre and one style of music. I didn't form a band for the longest time when I first moved to Milwaukee because I thought it was like, I want to join a metal band. I want to start a metal band, but you have to either be this weirdo screamo stuff, or you have to, be this new age hipster stuff and have the scenester hair and the super tight pants and stuff.
I agree with you.
Yeah, or if you want to play melodic music, you got to be some hipster weirdo and grow a mustache and play girly music for chicks to halfway shake their humps to and all that stuff.
And
it's just kind of dismal sometimes.
If you present yourself as a rock band, you almost have the stigma of they think you're going to sound like Nickelback or something that's super cheesy, macho.
You're either
kind of,
Nickelback or Slipknot, so impress me. And it's hard to impress when people just have this weird notion preconceived.
The notion that rock and roll music started in the 90s, you mean?
Yeah.
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 And that it's all about a bunch of D-bags.
Yeah, it's just hard to... that's why I love bands like Freddie Lee Band is so eclectic. You guys got so many different styles going on that, it's a multi-genre band and there's multifaceted things going on all the time, and it makes for so much more of a pleasing experience than to know exactly what you're going to be going to see. Like, this is that screamcore band, so there's going to be lots of screaming and blast beats and nothing but.
Yeah, I've actually seen a number of bands over the years where I couldn't tell the difference between one song to the next. I would hear a whole show and my ears would be ringing, and I'd be like, I can't remember any of those songs. All I remember was the screaming and the cymbals ringing really loud.
Yeah,
and
and
that's about it.
look at them dance and try to look cool, and
Yeah,
that's part of it too. The almost fashion show aspect. I mean, there's nothing wrong with kind of dressing up and stuff, but a lot of bands you think that's all they have is their image.
Yeah. A lot of these bands that try to pass themselves as like hard rockin', blues rock, Americana based stuff, I find it really cuts short because there are great musicians out there, but they're selling themselves short and they're not playing as good of things because they're trying to go more towards a pop aspect just to, I don't know what, to sell CDs and sell out and get chicks or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
All that stuff is great, but stay true to yourselves, people.
Selling is the key operative there. I mean, that's really what it is. They are selling themselves short. It's because they're trying so hard to sell themselves that they're, you got to refine and polish your craft.
Well, then that brings me to another question I had for you, Jamie. One of the aspects of the film or show was a kind of a short reference to a cover band that was friends with you, and they seemed like really cool guys. But But then the segment after that, Steve Peplin, the guitar teacher at MATC, kind of sort of dismissed that pretty quickly. Which, I'm not commenting on it either way. I'm asking actually what you think about that.
I kind of agree with Steve because I see Milwaukee is a very cover band oriented town. So if you're a quote unquote professional musician and you're in a cover band, you can make a living doing that. Most professional musicians in Milwaukee do that, but it's a little bit it's not having that personal creativity. You're not really pushing any boundaries artistically. To me, like Spencer said, be true to yourself, and it's about really finding your own voice and expressing yourself. And I don't think cover bands really do that. Everyone wants to drink beer and shake their butts from time to time to Journey, but that's not what I go out to listen to music for.
Yeah. So why do you think people like cover bands so much?
Well, it's easy. It's so easy for the listener to identify with and things like that. I think it just is easy for a band to get started, just starting doing covers, because, you need some common ground between musicians of, like, kind of a riff to play off of just to get to know each other, but then you got to progress.
They want to hear stuff they already know because they're not really there to hear music.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. It's become too, unfortunately, common that music is just background noise for people to talk. One of the aspects of the program I directed was showing how little respect the band was given. They basically were just made to set up in the corner, and there was a basketball game, playing behind them, and people walking through as they're playing, and it just lacked any sort of production value, and it made me a little angry.
Yeah. They were good. They were good musicians.
Oh, sure.
The thing I remember about cover music was I would hear all these friends of mine who would absolutely love anything that was ranked number one on some chart anywhere. That was what their main criterion was, and they would brag about being the first one to memorize all the words for it, and that was what it was about. It wasn't actually about learning anything about the song. They couldn't actually tell me what the song was about. They couldn't tell me anything about the chords or the time signature or anything other than be able to just sing the melody and the words, and that's what I've run into at rock concerts too. People get really bored if they can't sing along.
Right. It's because watching somebody show you something new and creative is about them. But participating in a sing-along or doing karaoke, for that matter, it's about you. So it's, you know what I mean? It's the focus is shifted a little bit. And I think that's why, live music in general isn't as popular as going to dance clubs. Is in a dance club, again, the focus is on you. You're the one that the lights are shining on. You're the one that's everybody's watching dancing. And the music is just there to provide background for your performance.
I was chatting with someone online recently, and I asked them, do they like to go out and see live music? And I was really shocked. They just said flat out no. That's so beyond who I am, because I love live music, and it just blew me away.
Can I offer another theory that I have for why this is?
Sure.
I am old, and I remember back when the drinking age was 18. I myself actually just got in under the wire before they began to change it. So I was going, not legally before then, to clubs. They were a little less sticklers for the carding back then. As long as you behaved yourself and didn't drink too much, you'd be okay. They cracked down on all that. So going to see live music was the thing to do. This is what you did. And going to a club is where you congregated to meet your friends. I mean, having to, get past all those dinosaurs on the road on the way was problematic. But anyhow, so, what has happened that I've noticed is when they changed the drinking age, first of all, I think it made it a worse situation for young people in terms of drinking, because young people were going to all these house parties. So they're still drinking, but now they're drinking in a situation where they're not supervised. There's no societal pressure to behave yourself. There's not older people there to model proper adult behavior. And so people got into this house party, drinking party thing, and never got into going to clubs to see music. And then when they've turned 21, they just continue on with this behavior. That's my theory.
Yeah, then they just hit the bars and, there might be a band playing, whatever.
Whatever.
Here to drink.
One final thought about this whole thing is also, to me, it's also on the venues themselves. They're not placing as much emphasis on live music, or they're almost demeaning it in a way.
Sure.
It's about them too now. The venue wants to make their profit, and they make it more difficult for bands. They don't really promote like they should. I mean, of course, there's good venues, but for the most part, I've seen some.
Yeah. Well, your film starts off with Peter Jest, and Peter Jest is a very long-standing, successful club owner. What he talks about his recipe for success, and how can you summarize that?
Well, he just basically said, be honest about your draw, because I'm sure there's lots of bands that, they say they'll have 200 people and they have about 30, which is, that's a band starting out. That's what they're gonna have. So obviously, you're not gonna start at Shank Hall. But he just said, work with the venue. He mentioned, how they're just a music-only venue, which I really appreciated because there's no pool tables, there's no distractions like a game in the background, like I said. It's all about the music. So, if people are there, they're there specifically to see live music.
That is so true. I actually opened for Lowen and Navarro once, and I got on stage, and I was expecting to be ignored, because I was some unknown, fairly unknown to this audience anyways, Milwaukee performer. I was expecting to be ignored. And all of a sudden, I sit down to play, and I don't hear any talking. I then proceed to get a little nervous because, holy cow, they're actually listening. And I played my 35-minute set, and everyone listened. And they came up afterwards and said, I really liked this song. I really liked that song. And I thought, where am I? What's going on here? I'm not the headlining act. And I said that to Peter, and Peter said, this is a real music club. People come here to listen. I'm like, wow.
We need more of that.
And then Freddie Lee Band has played there. And twice. Actually, I think it might have even been 3 times.
Oh, yeah, 3 times.
3 times. And we were in a pickle once, and we were honest with Peter. I called him and I said, "This is where we're at. We did not book this show. Here are the circumstances. What would you like us to do?" And he wasn't thrilled with the situation, but he also appreciated the honesty, and it worked out. We made it work out as well as we could, and that's all he could have asked for. So I can work with the guy. I can respect the guy.
In watching your program, between the venue owners and the musicians that you talked to and interviewed, the main theme I really got out of it is that the music scene really is all about the money, and Milwaukee is not the wealthiest of towns, and therefore this is not the best place overall. Yeah, there's a lot of venues, there's a lot of genres, and there's less musicians overall because there's less populations, but you're right. I mean, you were talking about how the city's so segregated. That wasn't exactly the term you used, but in a whole bunch of different ways, we're the most segregated city around. And it makes it so whether it's just your genre of music or the color of your skin or your sexual orientation or your religion, whatever it is, it's kind of hard to find entire groups of diverse groups of people.
That's true, and it's unfortunate, but I tried to have a little ray of hope in there, because I like Milwaukee and I want us to be better. We're right by Chicago. Why aren't we even close to comparing to them as far as a music scene?
Yeah, we're the biggest city in the state. People shouldn't go to Cudahy to see music.
Exactly. We need to have a little pride and try to lift up our city a little bit. That's kind of what my goal was, at least. Hopefully, we can motivate some people.
Well, when people think Wisconsin, the only venue they can name other than Shank Hall maybe is Alpine Valley. There's not a lot of people who would think to go see a show in Wisconsin, even though we do have a lot of good venues. I've seen a lot of shows at the Orpheum in Madison that were really awesome. Seeing venues at Summerfest is really cool. I mean, there's all sorts of places around here where you can catch good music. You just have to be willing to listen to something you haven't heard.
Well, Jamie, Steve mentioned in the film that there's a lot of up-and-coming young musicians, and he said not just in jazz, but he didn't really name any specific names. And so because we really don't know each other, you just left MATC right before I got there, so I'd seen you in Anechoic once or twice, because once again, I am trying to get out there and see a lot of different things, but we don't know each other. So lay on some new ideas on me, new people I should be watching for, new things I should know about.
Well, unfortunately, I'm kind of out of the pipeline now because Anechoic split up about 6 months ago, and I actually haven't even been paying attention myself. A few that are on my radar, you had mentioned before, the Heroes Live. They're a pretty popular mainstream rock band. I've known their singer for
Eric
a
LaBrosse.
long time, probably
Yeah.
7 years.
He's a very talented man.
Yeah, because I remember back when they were called Maraschino, it was a separate band. I was best friends with their drummer at the time, and they have another band now called Dory Drive. But also, I don't know, our buddies in Conniption are a great heavy metal band.
Oh, we love Conniption around
You
here.
know,
Yeah,
it's
we've
kind of the
played them a couple
classic
times.
thrash sound, but Bill House is such a phenomenal lead guitar
Yeah,
player.
Bill House is the man.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I'm really not even up to speed on what most of the scene is today. Like
You should check out Northless.
Northless,
Check out
I
Northless.
have heard that name.
Yeah, and you should check out Ara. I'm a big, huge, big fat loser because Jerry from Ara texted me personally at my request to remind me of the show at Quarters, which is a block and a half from where I live. And so I kept on my regular day clothes. I didn't put my pajamas on. I said, I'm going to lay on the couch for an hour and then I'm going to go. I think you can see where that is. Yeah. That's going.
We all been there.
Yeah.
As,
So
as far as other young bands, we've talked about Ahab's Ghost a lot. Those guys, they can really kill it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you would like them.
I definitely need to just get out there more and follow my own vice and start seeing more live music.
And I saw a band at Locust Street Days called Space Collector that was
Oh.
actually really, really good.
Yes.
It was like doom metal, but it was only in the aspect that every song they wrote was, it's not, at least what I got out of it was that it was always the end of the world, the destruction of the universe, something of that sort. And
Was it real slow like most doom music?
oh yeah, it was real slow, real
Okay.
broken apart. The drummer just completely held the pocket the whole time, didn't even bother with triplets most of the time. It was pretty impressive.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. So there's some suggestions for you. Awesome. Why don't we take just a little break from our interview? We'll come back to the interview with Jamie Sod in a moment. But we had talked about Steve Peplin, he was your guitar teacher, yes?
Yep.
And also Emily's guitar teacher.
my favorite teacher, period.
Oh. So I think I'm going to play a piece by Steve off of his album Infinite Stairways. And this cut I am going to play for you is called Duke Skellington. And it's an original piece by Steve Peplin. You're listening to riverwestradio.com. This is Julie Brandenburg, and the show is called Compose Yourself. We just heard a cut off of Steve Peplin's album, Infinite Stairways, and the song was called Duke Skellington. On this recording was Steve Peplin on the guitar and the hi-hat, Sam Belton on drums, Jamie Brywick on trumpet and flugelhorn. We played some of his music in the past couple weeks. Aaron Gardner on the tenor sax, and John Price on the bass. Fabulous stuff.
That was pretty fantastic. I mean, you can just hear the love they have for the bebop jazz. I mean, that was so authentic. That could go right alongside something like Miles Davis.
I was
In
even
my
thinking
opinion.
older than that. That was exactly the words that came to mind, though. Really authentic bebop music. That was right what I was going to say. I thought that almost sounded like Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, like really early bebop music. That was the vibe I got out of that.
Yeah. I think I've heard him mention that he just likes the more traditional end of that era than the later, more...
Excellent horn playing, too.
Oh, yeah. We thought we heard a little scat singing in there, too. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, with the guitar line, I could have sworn.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I heard it, too.
So you can obtain this album by contacting Steve Peplin. You just simply need to Google him, and you'll find couple different places online where you can get the album. And I know that you were saying that Steve is one of your all-time favorite teachers. What made him such a great teacher?
Well, he kept things light. Like, he could see in each student what they got out of music and what they liked about it. And he tried to specifically tailor his teaching to that. And he's just got a great sense of humor, not to mention being an amazing musician.
Yeah, I'll bet watching your teacher shred doesn't hurt when you're
Yeah.
learning guitar.
He's a brilliant guitar player, and just a good teacher to me is someone that makes you want to learn.
Yeah.
You know, I've had some bad teachers that obviously they knew what they were talking about, but they didn't make me want to know. And
They wanted to shove it down your throat.
yeah, whereas I looked forward to learning from Steve.
It seems like his students do have that attitude. It's nice to see. It really is. Let's get back to your work. So tell us the name of the film, how people can find it on YouTube.
The name of I won't say film because my instructors would yell at me just because film is a 4-letter word. And
Program.
the TV program. Well, yeah, it's a television program or even just video is acceptable. It's called Brewtown Rocks. You can just go to YouTube and type in Brewtown Rocks. It's just a 30-minute segment as part of our student operations. And it could have been a little better. I would have liked to have a few more, interviews with bands and some actual more musical selections from the bands themselves. but it kind of got rushed at the end. So it is what it is. It turned out okay, and I'm just studying more production starting next year, and hopefully I'm gonna, start doing some short films, music videos, tying it all together. I'm going to be composing some scores. I really want to come from the musical aspect of it, and I'm working now on composing a score for a noir project that will be out sometime next year.
Ooh, actually, I scored a film for a for a spoof horror film once that was all shot in black and white, and it was really fun. It's like trying to get that MGM orchestra sound.
Yeah, I've never really dabbled in anything like that, like doing scores, and it's all going to be pretty much done by myself. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing if I got the goods.
That's awesome. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. So the film basically talks about clubs. It talks about musicians. It gives quite a few individuals in the film give some really good advice. The dude from Up and Under, he gave some good advice. Do you remember what he said?
I don't.
I do. He was talking about making sure that when you approach a venue that you're really understanding what the venue is looking for as much as what you're trying to bring to the venue. And I think that kind of coincides with what Peter was saying in terms of wanting to make sure you're being honest about what you can bring and what you can't.
Oh, definitely. And just working together as far as everyone, the venue, the musicians, the audience, even, if the audience knows how to be a good audience, as I like to say, when I go to a show, I like to be a good audience member. I listen to the songs. I try to give feedback through applause or whatnot, just to show that I'm not just standing in the corner looking sullen.
Yes. I don't know which is harder for a performer to take. The people who are sullen and appear to be bored, or as in the case when sometimes I do my solo shows. I did this one solo show, and this is the truth. Just sitting as close to me as you are sitting right there. I'm singing my heartfelt feelings, and this woman is blathering on and on about her potty training for her child.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
It's like why do you even bother coming out if you're just going to do that?
I think sometimes people think that we're like there's something magical about being on stage where we just can't hear the audience, even though they are literally as close to me as you are at this time.
It's just a misinterpretation of the fourth wall.
I think so.
It makes me think of almost a stand-up comedian in that way, where it's like a heckler or just someone chatting out in the audience. A comedian would stop the show actually and call out the person or say, people are coming here to be entertained. Why are you ruining it? I don't know, it just makes me think of the comedian Louis C.K. He has that show, Louis. There's a scene where this lady's talking while he's trying to do his act, and he just totally calls her out. I wish I could do that as a musician from time to time.
Well, maybe maybe us musicians should start doing that. Every time you hear someone talk, change the words of your song to "You stop singing, talking." Whatever.
That's not a bad idea.
I can't believe she did that.
Potty
Oh my
training.
Oh yeah,
there
get
we
those
go.
diapers going,
Sing your
baby.
conversation to everybody.
You may have something.
Well, you know what works? It starts soulfully singing to them, looking right into their eyes. Boy, does that make somebody uncomfortable.
Yeah, jump off stage and have them just talking to the mic maybe. Or
Oh, that might encourage some shenanigans if they are liquored up enough.
Yeah. So.
like Steve said, no more shouting Freebird either at a concert.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was precious.
Freebird is so overdone. When I go to a show, I yell "Stairway to Heaven." I yell just "Stairway."
I always yell "Smoke on the water." It's the same thing.
There you go. I should start yelling something with just as much tact, but not as well known, like "Green Grass and High Tide," or
The Outlaws, yeah.
yeah, "Green Grass and High Tides." Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to start yelling, kazoo solo, kazoo solo.
You should feature that in your next metal show.
I could actually, for my metal show, I want to have a handkerchief over my face, like a Old West robber style, and have nunchucks craftfully hidden behind my kit, and then just play either a drum solo or just the whole show, and then get up and start doing a nunchuck routine and be like, "Oh, What you know about audience?
That's I actually saw a number of Buckethead shows where he would stop playing in the middle of the song, go pick up some nunchucks, do a whole routine, put him back down, pick up the guitar, and finish the song, and it was
Wow.
pretty unbelievable.
For
I've
sure.
seen that too. That's pretty good.
I mean, I'm a drummer, so I can like hit one of my cymbals with one of it and be like, "What?" You know.
That would be memorable.
That would be memorable.
There you go.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell us about your career and what you're planning on doing?
Well, I'm gonna be, like I said, hopefully starting my production company soon. So, I guess I don't really have anything to plug yet, but just my name, Jamie Sod, and
And you can be
Just-
found on Facebook.
yes, I can. Musician, production, and acting. I dabbled in a little bit.
Awesome.
So that's about it.
Super. Well, thanks for talking with us. And I'm glad you stuck around for the show because we got one more quiz. This one is called Wealth or Fame.
Well, I'm doing Wealth or Fame again this week. Last week, I just picked a bunch of Eric Clapton songs. I went with a different of my favorite artists and composers, Mr. Jimi Hendrix. And I have 4 songs here that Jimi Hendrix made pretty famous at one point or another, but only one of them was actually written by him. And I want to see if any of the 3 of you can figure out which one did he actually write. So your choices are Hey Joe, Voodoo Child, All Along the Watchtower, and the freebie, the Star Spangled Banner.
Well, I already know the answer because I'm a huge Hendrix fan. He composed Voodoo Child.
Yeah, I'm also a huge Hendrix fan, so I knew it wasn't Star Spangled Banner. All Along the Watchtower is an awesome, awesome Bob Dylan song.
Yes.
Some Bob Dylan songs, they do sound better as covers than they do as Bob Dylan songs. Example, Mighty Quinn, or Quinn the Mighty Eskimo, or something like that. Mighty Quinn the Mighty something. Yeah, you guys know what song.
Yeah, yeah.
Man for Man did it, and it's amazing.
I like All Along the Watchtower by Jimmy too better.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, actually, he ended up with the
Protecting
rights
the
to that
same
song.
noise.
After Bob Dylan heard the initial recording by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, he just gave him the rights to it. He was like, all right, that's how it should have been anyway. You got it. I mean,
Good
Wow.
deal, good deal.
That's pretty cool.
Hendrix was such a huge Dylan fan, that must have really made his day and or lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Joe, actually, I again am blanking on the name. I'm of the guy who.
That's not a Chaz Chandler song, is it?
No,
Okay.
no. But
Wait, I didn't get to play.
oh, I'm sorry. they kind of gave away. all the-
please.
I want to play.
they gave away the answer.
Wrong.
I just want to play anyways.
But Hey Joe was actually recorded twice within about 10 years before Jimi Hendrix had recorded it. It was originally done in, I think it was the end of the 1950s, and then Deep Purple actually did it in the middle or end of
Yeah,
the
they did it
60s.
in '68 for their first album.
And then Jimmy did it in like right after it. It was the next year. His album he released had Hey Joe on it, and his version was way more accepted and is kind of the
I think that
standard
was
now.
his first hit single was Hey Joe. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think
It was either that or Purple Haze, yeah, or Foxy Lady, one of those early songs.
I think
Huh.
I think Purple Haze was his first, then Hey Joe, then The Wind Cries Mary, which is one of my favorite Hendrix songs of all time.
It's a great one.
The Wind Cried Mary is awesome. I love that. That's a great song.
It's one of my favorite Hendrix solos too, just because it's not like crazy technical or really out of nowhere, But yeah, it's just the most beautiful, craftfully well done solo.
It's not a lot of notes, but it is still actually very technical.
the best thing about
yeah.
Jimmy's guitar playing on the ballads like that is he would use his thumb to do the bass notes, and so it would free up his other fingers to do those little kind of chordal,
There you go. That's what Robbie Krieger of the Doors had to do all the time.
really
'cause
ornate
they had no
little
bassist.
fills, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very lyrical playing, if you will.
But
You got
later,
it.
later on in Jimi Hendrix's career, he ended up actually being able to do all of those ballad songs with his pick on Axis, like "Castles Made of Sand" and "Little Wing" and all of that is just some unbelievable composition. But it was all picked.
Wow. Very interesting. Well, thank you. That was a good quiz. I actually would have got the answer right. Only because obviously Star Spangled is a giveaway. I knew All Along the Watchtower was Dylan. And I kind of would have then guessed between Voodoo Child and Hey Joe and just by the titles. I just thought Voodoo Child sounds more like something Hendrix would write. So that would have been the way I would have finagled the answer, but I didn't know it like Jamie knew
So
it.
do you knew the composer for the Star Spangled Banner? Is it Francis Scott Key? I'm not sure.
That sounds right. Sounds right.
That's what I heard, but I've heard conspiracy theories saying it was somebody else.
And I've heard that the actual melody and everything was composed first, and then the lyrics were someone else put the lyrics.
I
to
think
it.
that is true. And I think it's a terrible choice for a national anthem for many reasons.
Well, they cut out 2/3 of the verses.
Well, that's part of it. But the problem is as a voice teacher, I can tell you, it ain't a good song for people to be singing together. It's a disaster. It is a disaster. And then I'll have people come to class and they'll want to sing it as a classical selection because they have to choose a couple different styles to sing. And I'm just like, you don't want to do this. No, really, I don't think you want to do this. And they want to do it because they think they know it. But when you get into it, you have to start it so darn low to be able to get that high note at the end that most people do not have that much of a range. It's a terrible choice for the national anthem. Did you know that I forgot who this was, one of those hippie dudes in the 60s that did a lot of folk music. Ooh, it's right at the tip of my tongue. He was trying to get "This land is our land, this land is my land." That's a great idea. Now that's singable and it's catchy and it's peaceful.
Are you talking?
It's a song about peace.
Are you talking Woody Guthrie?
That's why
Woody
it's not
Guthrie.
our national anthem.
Yes. I mean, our national anthem.
We like rockets and bombs.
Yeah, I guess we do. and we like rockets and bombs and people to have to screech at the end of our...
I just like the song "God Bless the USA." Just it has a warm spot in my heart, just because for some reason, every once in a great while, my friends and I will drunkenly sing it, and it's just an awesome friendship building activity. I think everyone should just sing "God Bless America" whilst very, very faded, and they would really find it a very healthy thing.
Because compositionally, it's really well put together, because when you get to that ending, God bless America. I mean, that's really good writing. I mean, those words are fit in so powerfully rhythmically with the notes.
That's the whole song is powerful. Like, and I'll proudly stand up next to you, and like, I love it.
You're thinking of that.
Wait,
Who's the artist?
we're not thinking of the same
that's
song.
what?
God bless the USA.
God bless the USA. Isn't that what I said?
No,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what you're thinking
Not
of.
God Bless
We're
America.
talking about God Bless
Yeah.
America.
Whoa,
Different
my
song.
bad. Okay, thanks, Jamie. All right. Uh-huh.
Well,
But you
you're-
know what? They're both have their merits.
Yeah, you're much more patriotic than I am. When my friends and I drink, we just sing Bohemian Rhapsody really loud.
We do that too.
That's a good one.
We actually did that when I used to teach choir. I made an arrangement of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nice.
Oh my God, was that fun? And you
mia,
know
mamma
the
mia.
person that was
Oh,
our
yeah.
Freddie Mercury.
My buddy Tim.
Your buddy Tip.
I don't think I ever saw the performance though. That's a hard dollar though. I hope he did okay.
He did
I never looked
okay.
at him the same after those spandex outfit. Yeah.
He did not wear the spandex outfit.
The half shirt.
No, he didn't do that.
I saw a Queen concert where by the end of it, it was a recording obviously. By the end of it, Freddie Mercury was wearing a pair of briefs and a handkerchief around his neck, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that handkerchief at least enchased with jewels?
Not even close. The good reference there.
I like the way you used that in a sentence. That's good. That's
Very much,
very,
very
very
much.
good. Well, we have time for one more listening, so let's do that. We had a performer 2 weeks ago come into the studio who is a student at MATC. I don't think he graduated. I don't think he did. But he has also been a student of Steve Peplin, and his name is James Murphy. I don't think you would know him. But he's a very creative individual, and he played this song live for us last time, so I thought maybe this time we could listen to the studio version of the song, because we all really liked it. It's called I Would For You, here on riverwestradio.com.
And I would fight the lightning for you, and I would fight the thunder too. I would fight the gale force winds I will fight the hurricane back to the eye from whence it came. For you, I would do. For you, I would do. For you, I would do for you. I would lay down my sword. I will subjugate the forest. I'll bring a mountain to its knees, and I will set foot on the sun and bring its heart back in my palm for you. I will fight the dark of night, take on the denizens of fright, and I will fight the dragon lord at the center of its core. For you, I would do. For you, I would do. For you, I would do for you. I would lay down my sword. And I will live without a nation. I'll leave religion to the earth. I will live my life alone with a heart made out of stone for you. For you, I would do. For you, I would do. For you, I would do for you. I would lay down my sword. 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 I would lay down my sword.
James Murphy on riverwestradio.com. That was a cut called I Would For You. We listened to that a couple weeks ago live, and now we hear the recording. And it's proof that we listen to everything because it's totally different than the other things we played today. What'd you guys think?
I really liked it. I liked the layering of the different instruments and the voices and just the whole production was well done. I could hear something like that on 102.1. It sounded very contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say I could hear something like that on 88.9 even. And I thought I liked the song 2 weeks ago when we heard it acoustic, and I thought the guitar playing was cool and the singing was cool and good lyrics. But now I hear the recorded version and it's awesome. You know, so much layering and all that good stuff.
Ah.
Yeah, there was so much layering.
Sorry to interrupt your thought there. So much layering. A fly bit me and startled me, and so I knocked over our listening apparatus. But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I liked all the little organ action that was in there interspliced, and a few other like little horns and little whistles and stuff like that. It was just a lot going on.
Yeah, he has this little guitar counter melody in there that we couldn't have heard last time because it was just him playing guitar.
Yeah, there was a counter melody, and there was also like a little electric guitar in there too. I thought I heard.
Gave it a really like full sound. Like you could, upon repeated listenings, hear something different, pick it out. I
Yeah.
love big mixes like that.
And in this version, he threw in some vocal harmonies too that we didn't get to hear before. I also agree that there was a lot of layers to it. It was really dynamic. Over the course of the song, it was a lot of different combinations of instruments playing at different times. And even though the song structure is really pretty simple, he makes a change enough to keep it interesting for the whole song.
Well, and when we were talking earlier today about authenticity and people making music that they really believe in rather than trying to produce something that'll get them chicks or get them drinks or whatever else, periphery things that they're looking for. James is really, really the real deal. You could hear that coming through.
He would have been an excellent guy to interview for your program because he is an extremely insightful individual as well.
Yes. Next time you're interested in doing another program about musicians around town, you may want to give him a but no, when you look for his music, it's spelled Jaems.
I'll definitely check them out.
Murphy. Yeah. You're going to say something, Jacob?
No, it was said.
Ah, good. So we're kind of getting to the end of another fabulous show of Compose Yourself with Julie Brandenburg, and I'd like to thank our special guest, Jamie, for coming to our show and sharing the quizzes and insight about the music scene. Thanks so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a great time.
Great. And Emily had to leave early, but Emily was here, and we have Spencer Powers on the kazoo and Jacob Mushin. So thanks a lot for being here. You've been listening to Compose Yourself with Julie Brandenburg here on riverwestradio.com. If you'd like to contact us, you can do that at TrueJules, TrueJules @yahoo.com.
I just got to mention, Shroud of Despondency is playing a show at Quarters here on Center Street in River West this Friday at around 9 or 9:30 or so. And there's a bunch of rock bands, metal bands playing that night, including an Australian female-fronted doom band and stuff like that. So come check it out.
I'm so glad you reminded us. That
Metal
is
show.
so fantastic. We were supposed to be in Door County, but we're not leaving till Saturday for the Freddie Lee Band. So we are going to be at Quarters on Friday. Awesome.
Do you guys play in Door County at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually where I'm from. I pretty much head up there every weekend.
Oh,
I'll have to
really?
check you guys out. Where do
All
you
right.
guys
Well,
play?
we'll give you the details afterwards.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Have a great week, everybody.
What do I have that's mine? My body belongs to the ground that will claim me. Even my ears have no choice but to hear the rain that gathers to me like little hands, pleading with me to be more than the same old. To be wet and cold and no life with no umbrella. To be brave, to be